Hey you guys, I'm channeling Kratos today. Who is Kratos? I'm going to tell you. I'm actually going to read this here off my laptop because he's not the Greek God of War. He's like not the Norse God of War, right? Like, so who is Kratos, Because we have the God of War, Ragnarok, just came out on PlayStation, and I was thinking, you know what? I want to channel Kratos. And I want to ask him because I was thinking he must be something like a God of War if he's in this game. And I wanted to ask him what his opinion on, you know, a different kind of war in the world today. I wanted to ask him about psychological warfare, like a war on the mind or a war on sanity. There's a different, I feel, and I've been reflecting on this for a lot of years. War isn't just something that you have to physically do, physically achieve. It's not a bully on one side or another and you have to duke it out. There's other types of war. War that is slowly but surely pushing you into a tighter and tighter corner where you can't even be free to be yourself. And you don't even know what to do about it anymore. And you'll find yourself getting quieter and quieter and more defeated. And I really wanted to get his opinion on this because I kind of associate him as some type of God of War. So I looked him up. Okay, I looked up a couple different things here, and it says, okay, Kratos in Greek mythology is the divine personification of strength. Now, there's other stuff. And this says, what god is Kratos based on? So although Kratos is a fictional character in a video game, it holds similarities and direct differences to an actual figure from Greek mythology, Kratos. Born of the divine entities, Pallas and Styx, the Roman name is associated with attributes like strength, power, and force. All right, so we're going to go with it. No matter what, I will find the conscious representation of Kratos that I am called to connect with. And I'm still going to ask him this question. And I want to see what he has to say. What do you guys think about this? Like, this is going to be good. Okay, so here we go. Kratos. Weird. He might not be somebody I can talk to right off the bat. He's in a really big orb. And this isn't like a bubble. You can just walk through it. It has got such a thick wall that I don't even know how you would break it. I don't know how you would get into this orb. He appears to be on the inside of it. There's other aspects of who he is because I keep experiencing an echo of him that is coming from every direction, okay? It's coming from above me, behind me, to the right, to the left, like all sides of me at the same time. And it's like, okay. Wow, you're everywhere, Kratos. Like, but it's an echo. It's a very thin, like kind of wisp of a presentation, okay? And then here I am at this big, dense orb. And I'm being really silly. I'm like, hello, anybody in there? Hello. I'm like knocking on the outside. Hello. I don't know. I'm talking in a really silly voice. Okay, this is so weird, you guys. Oh, man. I'm standing on a foot. And this orb is attached to one of the toes. And it looks like a disgusting growth actually grew out of one of the toes. And I'm so dumbfounded by this. And this foot is filthy, dirty, nasty, rotten, old toenails, overgrown. It's like very dirty. And this is weird. This is so weird. And Kratos is kind of laughing. I can hear him. He said, you wanted my answer to your question, right? I was like, well, yeah. All right, I'm going with this. So this foot just kind of lifts up and starts to move, okay? And it is the foot of a giant. Like, we're talking a giant so tall, its head is in the clouds. Like, it is enormous giant. This foot is huge, okay? and the foot lifts me up and carries me like a mile each step, but it can plow down forest like nobody's business. Like, it's like the trees might as well be grass. I mean, it just plows through these trees and they just snap and break and it's no big deal, and the foot just carries me, and I'm kind of clinging to this dense orb. I was like, Kratos, I thought you were on the inside. It's just like, like, it's like he's not saying anything about that right now. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do with the next step? What are you gonna do with the next step? What are you gonna do? Like, how are you gonna deal with this problem that is larger than life? How are you gonna deal with it? See, not necessarily referencing a psychological war or war on the mind. He's referencing an event in life that you're gonna have to deal with. However it shows up, and you experience it in one way and then it changes, and now you experience it in another way and you're holding on for dear life, and it's like the next unexpected thing and you're going to have to solve the problem. How are you going to solve the problem? I say, this, I can't get off this foot. He says, okay, then you can't get off the foot, then you're going to stay on it. He says, do you think the foot's going to keep just walking forever and ever and ever, or do you think it's going to stop at some point? Can you hold on for long enough until the foot stops? And then you can decide what you're going to do next. I say, I keep getting this image in my mind that I just want to cut this weird growth off of this toe. I just keep coming into my mind. I just want to get it off of this toe. I can't stop thinking about it. And yet it's the one thing I'm holding on to. I'm clutching it and I'm thankful that it's there, because I think it'd be thrown off and maybe even crushed by now. So thankfully this weird growth is here. It's the one thing I'm clinging to somehow, some way. I'm holding on to it. He wants to show me something else, totally new scene. And he shows me like straight on down to he calls it the eye of our earth. And in the center, there is the eye of our earth. And it looks like lava to me. So that's how I see it. It's just a bunch of lava in here, but I see a big eyeball is in the lava and it sees all things. It is the eye of our earth. And he says there's a waking giant inside our planet. Its eye is open. And it doesn't reference being a cyclops or one-eyed or a two-eyed, or it's more like a being was at rest, is now awake. Is it a real physical being? Is it an event? Is it energy activation? Whatever you want to call it, he defines it as an eye of our earth is opened, and this sleeping giant is now awake, basically. And he says that it will stand up and it will stretch and it will expand. He's almost saying that what we are facing with our mind war, there are bigger things afoot. Much, much bigger things afoot. And you will be holding on to whatever you can clutch. I say, okay, well, that's interesting. I mean, what else you want to tell us, Kratos? Like, I'm like super into this. What else you got for it? Wants me to go visit the being in the center. Well, I'll tell you, it's full of fire. It's wrathful. It's scaly, actually. It's like one big giant, and the scales are really dry and hard and thick, and I can feel each individual scale, almost like this raised bump, and it looks kind of toad-like, but it stands upright on 2 feet, and it's got more like the body of how we see a Tyrannosaurus Rex. But it's got a big blubbery kind of midsection and really, really thick, dense scales. And it has no qualms about lava. Like I see that it is completely protected from fire. It's completely like fire resistant or fireproof. And it's outraged. It's violently outraged. It's raging. Like it's looking for a way to roar its way out of the inside of the planet and come out onto the surface and unleash this like terrible, terrible roar across our planet. Like it just wants to roar and roar and roar and roar and roar. And it's very angry, like that it feels stuck right now, but it's not going to stay stuck. He's showing it to me much like kind of like a mythological creature, like a real creature from Hades, like the realm of hell, right? Is going to be unleashed. And Kratos is very positive about this. Like he doesn't have any fear about it. He doesn't have any concerns about it. It just is what it is. It's very matter of fact. And I ask, okay, so how is that, that so our war on the mind is kind of pathetic in conjunction with this wrathful Hades being from the center of our earth. That seems like a real physical problem. That feels um like all this energy and the mind and the psychology and the emotions and what's going on inside of us is going to become something that is a big problem, that is an external physical endurance or test. But it's not necessarily, because I'm trying to understand what is the goal of this thing. Is it just a vent? Is it just to release this sort of rage? It's all pent up. It's a physical test. But it doesn't, when I say that, it's not like I feel like everybody's going to have to deal with this. But it will be heard, and it will be felt, and it will be experienced, even if indirectly. And Kratos says that he's looking at a soldier that has to fight a war all alone. But then when that soldier has a team, and then you have to ask yourself, what are you up against? And who's on your team? And it's okay to have a difference of opinion. And this isn't about bullying one another or destroying each other. It's about knowing where you stand and knowing who's on your team and standing with your teammates. And you will need to stand with your teammates. You will need to know where you stand. You will need to decide that. You will need to decide where you stand and who are your teammates. You will need to decide that. And you will need to stand amongst your teammates. He doesn't call them soldiers. He calls them what I would term teammates. Because I see camaraderie. I see fun, lively conversation. I see hugs. I see friendship. I don't see necessarily always seeing eye to eye, but there is an appreciation and value for one another, because without each other, you have just yourself, and you're quite vulnerable alone. You're vulnerable alone, but you are not vulnerable when you are amidst your teammates. And your teammates can be 10. Your teammates can be 10 million. He says a war on the mind, or the war on psychology, it's easily snuffed out when you decide where you stand, and then you stand amongst your teammates. And now there's nothing to question, there's no confusion. He's almost referencing as though there are going to be events that will help us in this. He's not afraid. He's not asking us to be afraid, encouraging fear at all. He's actually just providing this insight. And I say, what about the orb? I felt like you were in an orb, but you were everywhere. He says that you will be guided, whether it's Kratos guiding you or some other, your archangels or your higher self, or you will be guided where you are meant to go. And it might not make a lot of sense when you get there. And so just do the best you can to interpret it. And there aren't any wrong answers. You do the best you can to interpret it, and then you see what happens next. And what happens next will take you then to the next experience and the next decision that you're going to have to make. But some events in life are going to be out of your control. Like me now clinging to this orb and the big foot, I didn't even know it was there. It was out of my control. I had to just make a decision and stick with that decision no matter where it took me. And now as the foot is like moving across the earth, it isn't going to last forever. This path, this walk is not going to last forever. It will have to stop and change its direction, or has to take a nap, or whatever it's got to do. And life is like this. And then you make the next decision. He says that there is no war on the mind, or no psychological war. And this is how you can understand it quite simply and work your way through it quite simply. So he thanks us so much for our time. Like, he's a very nice man, actually. I really like him. He's a very, very nice man. In the game, he's like this rock solid, like ultra masculine dude. But energetically, he is super nice, clear-minded. I don't feel he's hard to interpret. I feel he is pretty expressive in his ideas and what he wants to say. I really like him. So glad I did that. So there you go. I'll let you guys think about Kratos and his message, and feel free to share your thoughts. If any of you are interested in exploring a session with me, you can book a session at my website at abbeynormalswisdomquest.com. All right, have a great day, everybody.